Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. I know you will be incredibly changed by this presentation from my friend Carolyn Chain. So Carolyn wanted me to read her bio rather than ad-lib because I know too much. So Caroline Chang has been producing and hosting Awake to Oneness Radio for over 7 years. She launched her podcast 6 months after the transition of her only son, Kyle. Caroline is also the founder of the Kyle Foundation, which Kyle stands for Keep Your Light Expanding, and co-founder of Universal Oneness Alliance. Caroline is an inspirational speaker, author, and spiritual mentor to many who have loved ones in spirit and loved ones here too, because she's amazing. Caroline has given many talks, presentations, and been a guest speaker in many in-person and online conferences, podcasts, and spiritual centers. Caroline has written a chapter in the award-winning book, We Touched Heaven, a collection of experiences that reach beyond the veil. She has been featured in the documentary film Rinaldi, which you guys gotta see this, oh my gosh, a documentary about instrumental transcommunication to the other side. This film has been awarded Best Afterlight Research Film in 2022, Life Beyond Film Festival in Torino, Italy. Caroline's work as a podcast host, inspirational speaker, author, and mentor to grieving parents helps her to motivate and inspire others who are dealing with very difficult life situations. She is also in the process of writing her book, a touching true story of a mother's triumph from the devastating transition of her only son, and sharing her journey to awakening to the truth of who we are as sovereign, divine beings of light. Her book is filled with inspiration and encouragement of how she overcame life's greatest challenges, as well as sharing spiritual lessons she has learned on her journey. So please, let's welcome Caroline Chang.
Thank you. I am not used to all this. So I'm trying, hoping there's no more feedback. Thank you, Kathy, so much for that. You guys can hear me okay? Okay. All right. The title of my presentation is Knowing Who You Truly Are as One. Okay. I just hit enter and we didn't go on to the next slide. All right. All right, let's see. Okay, maybe if I do it this way, hold on. Try that. Okay. Okay, use the forward. Okay. 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 Forward again. Okay. My journey to awakening actually began from a very young age. I always had a strong inner connection to what I now know as higher self. Now, as a child, of course, I didn't know that, but I always followed my inner guidance, no matter what, adults were saying, and that, always translate to, what society wanted of me. And so I was, quote unquote, the black sheep of the family, because I followed my inner guidance. I was sent to Catholic school at a very young age. From K to 5th grade, I went to Catholic school. And when you're in Catholic school, they actually give you a religion class every day. And what was being taught to me every day in religion class did not resonate with me 4 or 5 years old. But my father was very strict. He said, children are to be seen and not heard. So even though I'm like, nah, this stuff is not feeling right in my little body, I couldn't speak on that. I had to keep that all in. And I also had a lot of deja vu moments. This thing, I'm gonna, maybe if I So can you guys still hear me if I put it down a little? Maybe it's too close to my mouth. Okay. All right. A lot of deja vu moments when I was a child. So I instinctively knew as a child to follow my inner guidance. And that didn't all, I was like, quote unquote, the black sheep of the family. So moving on. Okay. When I was 15 years old, I was introduced to this book, Think and Grow Rich, by a guy I had a crush on. So, you know, you have a crush at 15 and this guy's like, you should read this, you read it. But now this guy was all interested in the making money. And that wasn't my interest. My interest when I read this book, it was my first introduction to our thoughts, create our own reality. I had never heard that before. I was like, wow, that really fascinated me. So this is my first introduction to my conscious awakening. Like I said, from very young, it was an intuition. But consciously, I started, that's interesting. Thoughts create our reality. So for the past 30 years, after that, 30 years went on, and I was studying everything I could get my hands on metaphysically and spiritually. And back then, it wasn't that much, but not like today. But I did. I studied everything I could metaphysically and spiritually, but there was a missing piece for me. It's like, okay, I get it. All this sounds good. Yeah, it's all good, all good. But there's something I knew internally, instinctively, there was something missing. Didn't know what that missing piece was until 2007. 2007, I watched the documentary, What the Bleep. What the Bleep is all about quantum physics. I never even heard of quantum physics. And this whole documentary was about science. And I highly recommend this, but I recommend the documentary part of it. It's a movie that you can skip the movie. The documentary part of it is very, very good. And there was actually just one statement by Lynn McTaggart. She's done some wonderful work. Look her up. She's great. She's fantastic. She made one statement. And that one sentence, the biggest problem in the world today is the illusion of separation. And when she said that, it was not a mental awakening. It was heart and soul. My heart and soul literally woke up to truth in that one statement, that there is no separation. So I was like, that's true. My whole life changed from that moment. That was in 2007. So what I learned from the documentary that resonated as true from the heart, not the head, I learned about quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement and Einstein called this spooky action at a distance, meaning all particles in the universe are entangled. And it doesn't matter about distance, doesn't matter how far these particles are. When one turns one way, the other turns exactly in the same instant. And again, I said, this was known 100 years ago, over 100 years ago, because Einstein, again, everything I'm grounded in has already been proven scientifically. Einstein called this spooky action because especially 100 years ago, he's like, what the heck is going on here? And then the other thing that quantum physics teaches us is the unified field, meaning, again, it's another term that everything in the universe is entangled, is connected. There is truly no separation. So that is when you know that at the core of your being, not believe it, but know it at the core of your being, you live your life very differently. So the truth of universal oneness is when you look into the eyes of another person and you know you're looking into your own eyes, that other person is not separate. No matter, I don't care what they're doing, they're not separate from you. Now, my other awakening moment happened when I was very young also. That happened in 7th grade. In 7th grade science class, I'll never forget my science teacher telling us when we were studying atoms and molecules. He said, nothing is truly solid. Everybody in here learned that in 7th grade or thereabouts, correct? Yes. You put anything under a high-powered microscope, what do you see? You see tiny particles that we call atoms, and they're not touching. So that means it's not solid what you're looking at. And they're also moving, meaning it has life. There's life in it. It's not just an inanimate object with no life. So and this is not even quantum physics. This is basic science. We know that we do not live in a solid world. And an atom is 99.99999% empty space. So the building blocks of reality are not even solid. Okay? It is all just what appears to be solid with our limited, extremely limited human senses. Okay? This is the visible light spectrum of what we can actually see. Now, with technology and instruments, we know there's a lot more out there. There's a lot more in this room than what we can see with our physical eyes. And that little sliver in the center just indicates what the tiny bit that we can see with our eyes. And science is estimating humans can detect about 0.35% of what is actually around them with their physical senses. So with the 5 senses, humans' 5 senses are extremely, I can't even stress that extremely enough, limited. What scientists are saying, and it may be much even smaller than that, but they're saying with our 5 human senses, we can detect about 0.4% of what is actually surrounding us. So we know this from a scientific level, but do we live that way? Do we live with that knowledge at the forefront of our mind? Okay, dark energy and dark matter, again, science has proven or shown that of the universe, when you're looking at the night sky, 74% of it is dark energy, energy we can't see. 22% is called dark matter. 3.6% is interstellar or galactic, intergalactic gas. And what we can see is that 0.4%. So we see the stars. So when you look out there, and that's the same, not just out in the night sky, that's the same right here on planet Earth. So what's the difference between knowing and believing? Okay, we're going to go into that in detail. There's a difference. Believing comes from our mind. Believing comes from the 5 limited senses, what we've been taught, what we've been, what we study, those things. I'll move on to the next slide. So intelligent, what we call the mind intelligence, is based on what we've learned throughout our lifetime, from books, from parents, from teachers, from lectures, from all of those things. And those things are what? Outside of us. Okay? And again, it's extremely limited from our mind. Okay? So that's what our beliefs come from, is what we've been taught. Now, knowing, very different. A knowing comes from your heart, center of your heart, and your soul. And because that heart is connected to your higher self. Your heart is connected to infinite wisdom. So there's a difference. Intelligent is the mind. Wisdom is the heart. And that intelligent that comes from your heart is infinite knowing, because that heart is connected to your soul, to all that is. It's unlimited knowing. So believing, you can have a belief today and have a totally different belief tomorrow. Knowing does not change. And you'll hear people say a lot of times, because I know that I know that I know that, and they can't even explain how they know, because it's coming from a place they can't explain. So mind versus heart intelligence. This is another thing I'd love for you guys to look up if you've never heard of heart math. Again, like I said, everything that I'm grounded in has already been shown scientifically to be true. Heart math has done much research on the heart intelligence. I mean, people don't even think about the heart being intelligent, but heart math has done many research and scientific study on the heart intelligence versus the mind intelligence. And they have determined that the heart is 5,000 times to 10,000 times more intelligent than your mind, than the brain. Okay, what is oneness? Oneness is not a religion. When I first launched my podcast, Awake to Oneness Radio, close to 8 years ago, people kept, what is this, a new religion? I'm like, no. To me, it's the opposite of a religion. Because with religion, there's a lot of division. And I have the utmost respect for all religions. I don't claim to be one or the other, but I have the utmost respect for everyone's religion. But religion also has a tendency to do what? Separate, divide us. So I say no, oneness is the opposite of religion, because there is no separation in oneness. We are all one. Now there's two types. Now individually, we are conscious individually, but we're connected. So that individual consciousness is connected to a collective consciousness. And there's two types of consciousness. There's separation consciousness, and there's you. So with separation consciousness, we get war, we get fighting, we get division, we're like, okay, that person's separate from me, so I can rob from that person, I can kill that, I can hurt that person because that person's separate from me. Or that country is separate from me, so I can go bomb that country because it's separate from me. Okay, unity consciousness, we get world peace. So that is the big set. Now with separation consciousness, we have hunger. With separation consciousness, we have poverty and homelessness. With separation consciousness, we have illness, we have sickness, we have disease, we have pain. With separation consciousness, we have crime, we have mass shootings, and we have more war. That is what we've been experiencing here in the 3D matrix. Now with unity consciousness, we have world peace. Because in unity consciousness, the entire collective 7 to 8 billion people on the planet will know like breathing. We're all one. And I'm not going to hurt, not just another person, I'm not going to even hurt a fly because I know I'm one with that fly. So unity consciousness, you have unconditional acceptance of another person. You have unconditional forgiveness, meaning it's no condition, I forgive you. And unconditional love, no conditions, I love you. Because I know you are just another aspect of me and another aspect of all that is, which is God, source, universe, whatever. God answers to any name you call him, and we're all one. As Jesus said, I and my Father are one. He was not just talking about himself. We are all one with the Father. So science, again, like I tell you, I love my quantum physics. Science teaches that everything is the same energy. That's the thing. It's the same energy vibrating at different frequencies. So it's all about frequency because we have a high frequency and low frequency. And we learned from science that high frequency, which the highest frequency is unconditional love. And I use the word unconditional because man's love is, I love you today, I hate you tomorrow. Okay, but God's love is unconditional. Unconditional love is the highest frequency. And science has proven that high frequency is far more powerful than low frequency. So the high frequency of unconditional love is far more powerful than the low frequency of hate and fear. And this has been proven scientifically. Also, quantum physics teaches us who we truly are. We're that energy. We are sparks of God, each one of us. We are sovereign divine beings of light, and we were born that way, and nothing can change that. We are sovereign, okay? Our sovereignty cannot be taken away. We give it away. We give it away when we're in a state of fear. We give it away when we feel like, oh, little me, I can't do anything. When we think that we're telling ourselves that, so the universe, okay, you said you're little you can't do anything. Okay, that's exactly what I'll give you. I'll give you exactly what you asked for. Okay. Now, the other thing, because I hear this all the time about quantum physics, and I'm not a scientist, but I understand the core principle of quantum physics. I hear people say all the time, well, quantum physics is just a theory. It doesn't mean anything. I'm like, you like that invitation. But do you guys know that everything we have electronically today is based on quantum physics? If what we were talking about, everything being the same energy, interconnected and interdependent, if that was not the case, we would not have a smartphone. We wouldn't have a smart television. We wouldn't have tablets and all of that. I've had many scientists on my show, and I love this one scientist said, you know what? If a person doesn't believe in oneness, they shouldn't be allowed to own a cell phone. He's not like, okay, because he's like, that cell phone is working off of the quantum principle of the core principle of quantum entanglement and the unified field. So it's not, quantum physics is not a theory. It is, all of our technology comes from quantum physics. And quantum physics is over 100 years old, not new. Now, science, ancient wisdom, and spirituality are all teaching us the same thing. Now, ancient wisdom and spirituality has been teaching it for eons. So over the last 100 years, science has even caught up. And so the interconnectedness, the oneness is undeniable. Everywhere you look in nature, you can see it. You can see the interconnectedness of everything. Now, remember, we have very limited human senses. Remember those 5 limited, extremely limited senses. With those 5 human senses, we judge. We judge bad. We judge good. But in essence, what we're judging bad and good are the same thing. They truly are. What they differ in is frequency. Remember, I talked about the high frequency of unconditional love and the low frequency of hate and fear? That's the difference. So instead of calling things bad or good, I said, that's high frequency. Oh, no, that's kind of low frequency. But I also know that high frequency is far more powerful than the low frequency. It only takes a tiny bit of light to shine through the darkness. And what we're trying to do as far as this good versus evil thing is just take a tiny bit of light, shine through that darkness to transform that darkness back to light from which it came. So it's not about pushing away, because what you resist persists. Exactly. What you push against, you actually are making it stronger. We don't realize that we're always fighting, blah, 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 but you're actually, what you're fighting against, you're literally making it stronger because you're giving it your energy. It's not taking your energy, you're giving it. When you're giving your energy to something, you're actually making it stronger. So when you hate something, you're actually making that thing you hate stronger. So our greatest challenges are our greatest blessings. Now, we actually do, and I know you guys probably have heard this in some of the talks today, we plan our life from spirit. We're infinite beings. And when we're in spirit, we're like, okay, what am I going to do next lifetime? Okay, I think I'll plan it. But when we plan, when we put these big boulders in our way, we are doing it. Nobody's doing it to us. We do that so it will help us to wake up to who we are. Now, I know you guys heard many people talk about their near-death experiences, which was the worst thing that could ever happen to them, but that transformed their life. So, and I say, this might sound strange, but as a humanity, as a collective, our greatest awakening started March 2020. That was our yes. And actually, again, I tell you, I have very strong connection with my higher self. My higher self told me in March 2020, in no uncertain terms, humanity's great awakening has begun. And I literally have been partying for the past 2.5 years. I'm serious. I've been on top of the world. You know why? Because I already know the light has won. The light, it's not even like, oh, the white light is winning or the light is going to win. The light has already won. And the thing is, darkness already knows that too. But they're trying to fool everybody. They're trying to fool everybody because they can't take away your sovereignty. They can't take away your power. You can give it to them by being in a state of fear, by saying, oh my God, I'm little me, I can't do anything. You give them your power. When you're like, oh, wait a second, no, I'm not giving you my power. I'm just not. They can't touch you. And then when you surround yourself with love and light, nothing but good is going. They know this. They don't want you to know this, but the dark is not separate. Actually, if you go on my YouTube channel, I did a thank you song to the dark. It's like, thank you. In March 2020, okay, great. Okay, we've got this, but we just have to wake up, remember who we are, say, I am a sovereign divine being of light. You can't touch me. You can't take away my sovereignty. I can only give it to you. Now, what next thing I want to share with you is my toughest challenge, which again is my greatest blessing. My journey with my son, Kyle. My son, Kyle, and I believe every single soul on this planet, and other planets as well too, every soul knows exactly, comes into this life experience in perfect divine timing. And every soul leaves this life experience in perfect divine timing. They might only come for 2 days. I'm like, I want to go to Earth and just put my toe in there for 2 days and then get back out of there. You know, it's a soul choice. There are no accidents. Everything is happening in perfect divine timing. So my son was 29 years old when he transitioned. And that was his timing. And I went through several experiences with him where I almost didn't make it because I didn't think he was going to make it. And 3 years before he transitioned, doctors had said to me, asked me, could they take him off life support? And I said no. And I was awake at this time. This was in December of 2011. And I knew who I was as a sovereign being. And I knew that this whole scenario I was creating, I was like, this is where I get off the train. I tried in the hospital, I tried to take my own life. And while my son was on life support, they never took him off life support because I never gave my permission. I was unconscious for about 3 days. When I came to, I remember being in the ICU. And the thing I remember, I'll never forget, my son's doctor standing at the foot of my bed saying, Kyle needs you. And when he said that, I'm like, because I'm thinking to myself, I'm not supposed to be here. Why am I still here? Yeah. But when I heard his doctor say that, I'm like, wow, Kyle's still here. Yeah. So the strongest thing I could find was over-the-counter sleeping pills. I took a whole bottle, that didn't do it. So they had me in the hospital with my son. They allowed me to visit him for about an hour a day. I was on 24-hour suicide watch with an aide with me. The last time I had a visit like that with my son, I whispered in his ear, he's still on life support. I whispered in his ear, I said, Kyle, please get better so we can both go home. That night, my son pulled himself off life support. He pulled out, and he's semi-sedated, because when you're on a ventilator, you have to be semi-sedated. In a semi-sedated state, he yanked out the vent, and he yanked out the feeding tube. His vital signs were perfect. The doctor said it was like he was not even sick. It was a true medical miracle. This is in December of 2011. And in 2 weeks after that, he and I both went home together. Now, when I brought him home on December 30th of 2011. I made a promise to God. I said, God, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen the next minute, but I will never stop thanking you for allowing me to bring my son home that day. So 3 years later, he ends up in the same hospital on life support again. And I said to God, I don't know what's going to happen this time. I'd love to bring him home again, but I don't know. When my son, my son transitioned on July 1st, 2014. And at the moment of his transition, I was at complete peace. I knew he wasn't going anywhere, number one. I knew it was his soul's time to leave that vehicle we call a body. And I knew it was a soul plan that he and I had made together. I was at complete peace when he transitioned. And then I got 2 years after that. After 2 years after his transition, I launched my show 6 months after his transition. And someone recommended Suzanne Giesman to be a guest on my show. So I had Suzanne on my show in May of 2016. Now, my son is a Thanksgiving baby. He's born on November 24th. And sometimes Thanksgiving Day is right on his birthday. So this year, I remember I emailed Suzanne a week before his birthday. And I had said, Suzanne, I'm thinking a lot about Kyle. His birthday's next week. She got back to me right away and said, we're going to do a reading on his birthday. I'm like, Suzanne, that's Thanksgiving Day. I don't want to take you away from your family on Thanksgiving Day. She's like, I've been told I have to do this. She also channels Sanaya. Sanaya had, before she got my email, Sanaya had said, you are going to do a reading on Thanksgiving Day for a mother who has a son in spirit. She didn't know who. As soon as she got my email, she knew it was me. So I have 3 audio tapes or audio files from that reading. And I'm hoping you guys can hear this because it's so amazing. So in this first one, I'll just let you hear.
That's how that feels. There's a little bit of trouble breathing, and the word embolism comes up. Okay. And let's go. This feels like he's trying to show me some things that may have happened at the end. I don't normally hear embolism, but they may have had some problem with clots.
Yes. Yes.
You did? Okay.
Yes.
Wait till you hear this sound. I've never heard it coming through my computer. It's a vibrational thing. And he says he's doing it. He's messing with the electronics. Well, you can cut it out then. We got you. Unless you want to give us some electronic voice EVP would be awesome. Never heard that. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I heard a sound there. It might have been your laugh, but it gave me the image of a very small white fluffy dog. I have do you have a fluffy white dog, or you've had one?
Had one. She's crossed over.
Yeah, well, he's holding her like this. And
Okay.
so she's fine, Mom. And so am I. He's
Kyle had open heart surgery. The surgery went very well, textbook. A week after that, he developed an embolism in his brain that burst. And that was what caused his transition. I never told anybody that. And you could clearly hear Coco's bark. Clearly hear Coco's transition. My dog Coco transitioned the fall of 2007. And I felt very guilty. I felt like I didn't do enough. And Coco came in to say, Mommy, I'm okay. Yes. Okay. Now the next one, this right here, Suzanne did not hear. And I had to point this out to her a few days later. I said, Suzanne, listen right at this spot, because she didn't even hear this.
and just says that he knows that you would do anything to have him back, and you would even be just to be with him. But he says you still have a lot of work to do, and you're doing it. But it also feels like, I know he's saying that you feel like you're not doing enough, and he says, chill out, Mom.
You can clearly hear Kyle's voice saying, doing it. I pointed that out. I said, Susan, listen right here in the tape. She said, holy, and called her, said, Kai, come over, her husband. Kai, you got to hear this. This is the first time. Susan does hundreds of readings. This is the first time this ever happened. It is called EVP, but we weren't trying to do an EVP. This was organic EVP. Yes. So, and here's a picture of me and Suzanne at the last live IANDS in Philadelphia. And I did not know, I know I'm short. I didn't know she was that tall. Okay. All right. Okay. Next slide. Okay. Next slide is with Sonia Rinaldi, another guest of mine, who is a Brazilian researcher. And she has been researching for over 30 years, getting, first it was audio, but now she's getting audio, video, and images from the other side. Kyle, now you can see where the pictures of Kyle's is in there, but Kyle has come, and those are all different experiments. They're not the same. She uses electronics. It's all through her computer, but she uses different camera setups and everything. And she does an e-magazine, and Kyle has appeared in about 3 or 4 of her e-magazines. And so in different ages, Kyle has come to her as 12 years old, 15, in his 20s, at different ages. But here's my favorite one. This, this is Zoom. Sonia has a Mist, one of those machines behind her. And this is just before I went on Zoom with her. She's recording, and you can clearly see Kyle's image in the mist behind her head. And that was just before I went on a Zoom meeting with her. So Kyle is like, he's just saying, Mom, I'm here. I'm still here. And now, remember, okay, now this was just from a few months ago. This, I mentor, especially parents with children in spirit. Now, there's a couple in the UK, and their 13-year-old son just did not wake up in February of 2020. And so this year was their 2nd anniversary of his transition. And they reached out to me again. And they said, they knew I knew Sonia. They said, can you contact Sonia for us? So I did. Now, the father is very skeptical. Okay. So Sonia got images of their son, and you can see him in the corner. But there's something else that came through, that a dog came through. And so Sonia's emailing me and the couple and asking, well, who's that dog? Do you want to know who that dog is? My Coco. You see, I sent her the picture after. I said, that's my Coco. Now, Coco came with Wesley is his name. Coco, because the father's skeptical, I connected Sonia with this couple. Sonia gets pictures of Wesley, but Coco comes through to say, hey, my mommy got you guys together. So, hey, I'm showing you it proved to the father, this is real. Sonia didn't know who the dog was. They didn't know who the dog was. So that's my Coco. So now you've heard Coco's bark and seen images of Coco. Coco wants to know, I'm here. Yes. And again, at another conference, this is at We Don't Die conference in Boston in January of 2019. Me and Sonia together. We're the same height. We were having fun. You see the glass of wine, right? Okay, so who we truly are. We are unique, holographic, multi-dimensional aspects of God. All that is source. I say my term for God is all that is. There's nothing outside of God. And I want to explain each one of these aspects. We are unique. Each one of us, we're supposed to be. We have unique perspectives. No two are the same, and we're not supposed to be. We're unique aspects of all that is. God wants to play every role through us, and none of us are going to be alike. Even identical twins are not identical, are not have exactly the same. So I say this to say that you can have a different perspective than someone else, but still have a conversation and still love and respect that person at the end of the conversation. You don't have to turn every disagreement into an argument. You can love and respect each other for each other uniqueness. Same thing with, I call this unity within diversity. All religions, all people. We're supposed to be uniquely different. Imagine what a boring world this would be if we were all the same. You know, we're so, uniqueness, our diversity is the spice of life. It what makes life so full and rich. And we don't have to we can disagree and agree. We can agree to disagree and still love and respect each other at the end of the day. That's how we get to world peace. Because all 7 billion people are not going to agree. So I can love you, don't agree with you, but I love you. Okay, and keep it moving. You know? Okay, holographic. We are each cells of God. Holographic means, my favorite quote, you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. We are not pieces of God. Each one of us is all of God in a drop, creating our own reality. Nobody's doing it to it. We are doing it because it says we were created in the image of God. We are holographic, each one of us creating our reality. We're individually creating it, and then collectively we're creating it. Multidimensional. All there is the now. We talk about past lives and future lives. Those so-called past lives and future lives are all happening when? The only time there is now. Every life you're living, I see it. Every life you're living, how could I not see it? Every life you're living is here and now. And your power, that's the next slide. Your power is in the now moment, meaning what you do in this now moment is affecting all of your so-called past lives and all of your so-called future lives. And this has also been proven scientifically. Stephen Hawkins, he has proven scientifically that the now moment affects what we call the past and what we call the future. As Einstein said, time is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. And it's an illusion in this 3D matrix. You leave this matrix, there is no time. So, and I showed you some of Sonia's work, and Sonia released a documentary film on her life. It was released by Sandra Champlain, We Don't Die Films, this 22 February 22nd, 22 of this year. And this film has already won an award internationally, and I am in the film. Okay, and in the bookstore, there is We Touched Heaven. I wrote the chapter in detail of what I went through in December of 2011 when my son did not pass. I wrote a chapter called My Miracle on 34th Street. It's titled that because it was Christmas time and the hospital was in Philadelphia on 34th Street. My miracle. And also, I want to let anybody know, if you have questions, look for me, find me. I love, love, love. Wayne can tell you that. Love answering questions. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to show you guys, this is 3 minutes, and this is just to remind us who we are as love and as God. you see is the face of God. Remember that. Live that truth. And imagine if everybody on the planet woke up tomorrow and knew everybody is my brother, is my sister, is me, is God. We'd have peace on earth instantaneously. Thank you all.